Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be. We are swinging at shins, and we are back. I'm back. Woodsy's been back. Woodsy's already done 2 episodes. I'm back.
It's a 7 a.m. recorded episode on this one, so it's
Oh yeah,
it's
this is rough.
if it looks
This
like
is
we're waking up. No, we're literally waking up. That's what's
yep,
happening.
yep. This is rough. I have done nothing but move in and do a new job for the past couple weeks, and I am just wow. And of course, I don't get a reprieve because a week from today is the opening day, and Arsenal has a 7:30 game, so it's just up
Oh
at seven
my
again.
god! Well, this
Yeah,
is a
yeah,
warm up. This is a warm up for
yeah.
that.
This is just a warm up. All right, so this is part 3 of the preseason preview. Aaron is missing this one. I am getting back into it. Today we have Sheffield United, Bournemouth, Newcastle, Spurs, and the Arsenal. Where do you want to jump in? I know we have new Sheffield United starting, but I don't know. Have there been transfers that have happened since the last time you guys talked that you want to go over?
So I mean, there's been one big one that just got finalized this morning, announced this morning was Josko Gvardiol to Manchester City. Um, Looks like we figured this one was
Yeah.
going to happen. It did. Like they really needed another center back. You know, they've only got, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they, they've got 3 of the most top 10 expensive center backs in the world, all on
Yep.
the roster
Yeah.
at once. Makes no sense. So
Yeah, well, no, it does make sense. I mean, that's how you win all the time. It's a solid core defense. It is. It's uh I was talking in the opening dinners group and we were talking about what else we might want Arsenal to get. And I was like, my dream defenders is just N plus one. The N is however many we have. I want
yep,
one more. I want
exactly.
one more. Always. Especially because defenders is what killed us last year.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. The
Just
injuries.
and of course it's him. What I think surprising is this was like talked about in March or April, I think, that this was going
Yeah,
to be a thing that happened, and it took all the way to August to actually happen. It's like
there
everyone
were.
forgot about it. I don't know if it was Declan Rice eyes or what, but everyone forgot about this guy, and then suddenly it popped up. Oh, hey, they're talking about doing a deal, and it's like, oh yeah, I remember that. Shit.
There were approaches for Gvardiol and after the World Cup, obviously. Um, there was an approach from Liverpool. I know that was concrete. I wish that materialized. There was an approach, I believe, from uh, Real Madrid was asking about him. So there were teams definitely interested. It looks like Manchester City. Their negotiations with RB Leipzig were farther down the road than most people really um, knew back then, because it looks like the contact was made pretty darn early.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
after
Which can work against you at certain ways. If they get fed up with, oh my god, why isn't this deal getting done?
yeah,
But I also think that the way, I mean, I know City has a endless supply of money, but the way that, hey, we were almost 100 at for Declan Rice, that didn't happen. We can go another 10 or 20 or 30 on Gavardiol and make sure that we get him across the
yeah, and I think that, to be honest, that whole thing with City and Declan Rice uh, was in a way to your limit. You don't necessarily need a midfielder like him. Yes, um, they did lose Gundogan and a couple other guys in that midfield. I necessarily don't. I don't think they really needed him. I said let's test the. I think they said let's test the waters. This is how much we're willing to go. If they want to go over this, so be it. We're going to go get our guys that are more important to us winning the title. And you look at what John Stones was doing this past year, moving into that midfield role. Would not
line.
surprise me if they do that again. So, I mean, they necessarily really didn't need Declan Rice, but I think they threw a feeler out there to see,
Yeah. Hey,
hey,
maybe that's
how much
why
we're willing to do and still be able to get our guys. Can you take it or leave it? So,
maybe that's why they went and got Gavardiol. You
yeah,
know,
yeah, the money. I mean, the
John
money was there.
Stones is now going to be the more of a central midfielder. It's
They'll move Rodri forward, you'd think, right? Move Rodri almost into a
yeah,
pseudo 6'8"
yep.
type role, and
That's where I would put him. He
yeah,
did so well. He did
he
so
did.
well last
He
year.
did.
This is, I mean,
And I'll be honest with you. I look at the way that their defense is right now, and you don't replace what Nathan Ake did too, because you really think about it. There's 5 center backs on this team that could start for just about anybody in the Prem. You
Yeah,
go all the way to Akanji. You look at obviously Diaz, Laporte, Ake. Uh, it's a tough squad as is.
I,
Stones, and then you throw in probably the best young center back in the world right now. I mean, that's a formidable defense right there. And to be honest, they could play
I
3 or 4
think
of those guys at once.
this isn't the Man City podcast, but I think that Ruben Diaz starts for every single team in the Prem, and I think that you are out of your mind if you think that your team has two center backs that are both better than Ruben Diaz.
Yeah, no, I
I don't
agree.
think it doesn't happen, and I love both our center backs. I'm very happy with Big Gabby and Saliba, and I would slot Ruben Diaz over Big Gabby immediately.
Yeah, we do. I mean, I'd love to play him next to Virgil van Dijk and see what happens.
Right. Anyway, like I said, this is not the Man City podcast. First up, we have Sheffield United, newly promoted. The Blades are back.
Yeah, it's a big big season last year for them. 91 points I think was the number if I'm not mistaken. Is it
Yeah,
90?
91,
Um
99, something like that. Keep in
pretty
mind,
darn good.
a lot of people forget that the championship plays more games.
A
It's
lot of games.
easier to get
Yeah.
those higher. It's still impressive. It's not
Yeah.
over 38 games.
But the thing is, I mean, when you look at the winners, Burnley, I believe, at 100 points. Third place, I think, was something like 80, 82 points, something like that. So, I mean, the disparity between the 3 clubs that are coming up, I think, is quite big. With obviously with Sheffield United in the middle of those two, sandwich in between them. Um, the big thing for them, I think, is going to be where can they improve? Obviously, the transfers I think they've made this summer, I don't necessarily think are ones that are going to, stand out to a lot of Premier League fans. But I do think that they're going to have. They've already got that foundation, that base that they're going to take over from last year, right? And they've got some
Yep.
experienced guys that have been in the Prem before.
Although, how
Obviously,
much of that foundation walked out the door with Ndai?
true, true. I mean, you're looking at a guy who basically, in my opinion, was probably their best player last year. Santa Berger was probably up there as well. Um,
I was
they've
doing
got
some
a
research last night on them just because I did not have a ton of time to pay any attention to them. And I came across it was Toto Football, and they had a guy talking about Sheffield United, and they said, who's going to be a standout player? And he's like, Ndai, without a doubt. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to go look him up. And I'm looking him up, and I can't find him on the squad list. And it's because he transferred between when that episode and now. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, he was total game changer for them, and then that's a huge miss. But now you think about it this way too. I mean, they've got money to spend, and they can go get somebody that's out there. They can go get guys for free. I mean, think of it this way: imagine if Sheffield United added Adama Traore, a guy like that, to
Yeah.
that team. I'm not saying that there's rumors out there that are that's actually going to happen or anything, but I mean that's the type of influence they need now in that attacking third. So I can see them using some of that money to reinvest. They're going to have to, in my opinion, in order to stay up this year. And I'll tell you, if I was them, I'd rather do it now than January, when it's most likely a lost cause at that point with your second manager. So,
It's hard. I mean, and like you said, we're talking about is our best hope for survival, and you got to feel for, first of all, the guy with one of the best names in the world, Paul Heckenbottom.
heck
Just
of a
what a
name.
name! But is he even going to be here come July? Because it's always tough. It's the easiest thing that they see to replace because you can do it whenever you need
Mhm.
the manager. And this is, I mean, last time they came up, they finished ninth. They had the whole inverted center back thing. And I just remember Sean Bean was very happy and they finished ninth and everything was going well. And I, it's so much more competitive. They finished ninth in a very weird kind of turnover year for a lot of other teams.
Mhm.
And we're not in that position for a lot of other teams. A lot of teams have gotten really, really good.
Yeah.
And they're hoping for 17th. They have to be.
I could even see, obviously being a Liverpool fan, we've had a couple deals with Sheffield United in the past, like a couple of years. The big one for me was Ryan Brewster going there. I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you, I was one of the people that was like, crap, I didn't realize we're getting rid of this kid. I really thought he was going to be something special. Totally wrong on that one. But I do see, that attacking third being the issue. I don't know where they score goals. I can see them keeping goals out of their own net. Maybe a goalkeeper though would probably even help with that. But I do see problems in that attacking third to the point where they could end up in a situation the same way Bournemouth were last year. And I know we're going to get to Bournemouth later, but they could be in a situation where, they've got these guys that can definitely compete, but can they get you over the top? The answer is no. They're not going to be able to get over the top. They need some signings that are going to come in. They need some signings that are going to influx some goals and get some goals in that system. Because, I mean, yeah, you get an American, you get Austin Trusty, you get that Traore kid. I don't know where exactly they're going to get those goals. They're just from what I've seen, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and you can tell they definitely took they put their eggs in the let's make sure we have defense basket.
Yeah,
which I think is great, but
do you see?
There's two sides of it.
I don't. I don't see Austin Trusty as a starter. I don't see Yasser Larouci as a starter.
No, but it's not just about starting. It's 38 matches, and you got to be healthy the entire time.
True.
That's what it is.
True, but
I don't know if we were recording yet at the time, but like I said, it's N+1 on defenders, man. It's always one more. Always. Yeah. Now, I don't know if that's what you should have done with that money because you're trying to balance, but I can understand the thought process that gets you to let's get another guy, especially a young guy who potentially has a high ceiling.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where it is. I mean, getting Benet Traore, I thought was a nice acquisition. Don't necessarily think he's quality for the Premier League, especially considering the top level he's played in is Sweden. So I don't know if necessarily he's going to be able to translate to the toughest league in the world. But I think there's a lot of as far as attacking third, there's obviously issues there, but leadership I think is a big thing too. No Enda Stevens, no Jack O'Connell, no Billy Sharp. There's not necessarily a lot of proven leaders, I think, in that team that were there the last time they were in the Prem. I think that could also come back to bite them. But then again, like I said, they're about as close as you can get to what Bournemouth were last year, in my opinion. So I think they're going to be an interesting team to watch. I think that the season's probably going to start very rough for them, but I'm wondering if they can figure it out down the line.
Yeah. And I mean, calling someone Bournemouth last year, it's almost a compliment at this point. Everyone they're going to be last, they're going to be last, going to be last, and then Bournemouth ends up where they end up. Of course, a lot of that was how bad some teams were too.
I agree.
Still, moving on. Next up is Bournemouth. Sack Scott Parker. I think the only problem with sacking Scott Parker is that you made yourself have to sack Scott Parker. You should have never hired him.
Yeah.
But that made sense. Get Gary O'Neill. Gary O'Neill does, I thought, a very good job. Keeps you up. Everyone's happy. And he gets rewarded by getting the sack. And now they have Andoni Irola. I'm not 100% sure how to even pronounce his name, but I know that he did well at Rayo Vallecano. Mid-table team, got him promoted, playing higher up. I don't know. It seems to make sense for a lot of people, and the only thing I can come up with is Foley's doing a bully. I got to come in. I got to make my mark. I got to go get the new guy. I got to go do whatever. Now he's got to go get the new coach because he has to be seen to be doing something, which is what I think the kind of bully fell into last year with Chelsea. I don't know. I don't know if this made sense. I don't know if they did what they needed to do to strengthen themselves. I don't know. Bournemouth is always an enigma to me.
I think you're going to see a very different Bournemouth team than what you saw last year. Especially with the signings they brought in. I mean, they brought in some pretty, in my opinion, some underrated signings and guys that are young that are still also developing as well. I mean, the one that really stands out to me is Milos Kerkez. Came from AZ Alkmaar. Very good left back, very good up the flank, very decent defensively. 19 years old. That's the thing for me that I'm interested in. The dual national kid. He's very, very good player. Got a high ceiling. And they paid. I mean, they paid 17, almost 18 million for this kid. He's one to keep an eye on for sure. Obviously, the big one in my opinion was Hamed Traore from Sassuolo. Can kind of play multiple positions, whether it's left wing. He can play a little bit attacking mid as well. Can jump into like a dual striker role at times too. Very good on the ball. Kind of that. We see it a lot with the one-on-one players in the wings. A lot of that now. So I do think a lot of the guys are playing into a lot of the signings, at least, are playing into what this team's going to look like. I still think defensively and in goal are probably their main issues. I think they're going to be pretty decent in midfield. They're going to be pretty decent in attack. They're not weaker than last year. I think that's a big thing to note. We expect a lot of teams to kind of fall off this year, but I don't see there's a point where this team is going to fall off the way a lot of like Sheffield United did, their second year in the Prem. I don't see that.
Not seeing a sophomore slump.
No. I think will they be as good as they were at the end of last year? No, I don't. I think that was probably their ceiling, but I can see them basically holding steady around that 14th, 15th, 16th area for the remainder of the season and just kind of get through. I think this is the coach though that they're looking at. Like, hey, if you get us over the hump this year, this is likely a big stand for you, a big job for you in the future, because they will be spending more money. They did get investment recently, so I think
they for a team that finished where they did spend a lot of money.
Yeah, and they
22 on Senesi, 20 on Zabanari, and those two center backs right there. You just spent 42 million on your center defense. I mean,
and they got Radu from Inter Milan, so experience. They're getting experience as well. Experience on a European stage.
Like you said, Kirkez for 15. So now that's 66, 67 you spent on your defense.
Yeah, and that could have been in my still opinion, that's probably the weakest spot of the team is the defense. Yeah. I still think they're a team that you're going to be able to score on. But it looks like to me they want to be able to say, hey, we're gonna do better than we did offensively last year. We're gonna get you more than one goal, so you have to score 2. You can't just beat us 1-0. You can't beat us.
No 2. More. No more 9-0s. So
no more, well, who knows? Who knows about? I mean, they still got Mark Travers in goal, so there's a chance that 9-0 still happens. So
well, maybe it depends. I mean, they went and got Neto.
They did, but the way with how often they ended up playing Mark Travers at the end of last year, Neto's injuries, and it would not surprise me if he ends up in goal at some point this year.
That is true. God, they probably should have fixed that. I don't know. Goalkeepers are tough this year, man.
I'll tell you,
goalkeepers are real tough.
I was telling Aaron in the last show. I mean, there's a lot of teams that I think would be better off with a guy like Matt Turner. I think I said Luton Town would be a perfect spot for him. Bournemouth is another one that it makes way more sense to me for him to go to there than it would for a team like Nottingham Forest.
Well, the other team that's been talking about him is I don't know. I like Nottingham Forest for him. I think that makes sense. I think Bournemouth makes a ton of sense too. I think Luton Town is. I don't know if Luton Town could afford him. I don't know if Luton. I think Luton Town's just happy to be here, and I think Luton Town is going to be really happy when they make it back up in a couple of years.
That's the thing about Luton Town, though. You look at what obviously they got a huge influx of money. They have to fix the stadium. That's roughly a little over 10 million is what the rumors are. What's going around? They've got money for him though right now. I mean, they've got money to improve this team and make this a challenging type team. But I think there's way too much going on behind the scenes with the stadium, with the club finally getting in the Premier League. I mean, I don't know if they necessarily are grasping what they've accomplished and the money that they have at hand and what they can do with it. I think it's going to end up being a short spell if they stay where they are.
Yeah, and I think that the way they're looking at it is It's for a team that's come up as quickly as they have. I think they're still taking a long approach. They can't. You can't. You can't be in that stadium. I understand the history, but if you're going to compete at this level, you need more match day revenue than what that stadium can provide you. It's that simple.
Yeah.
They're already building the new one. They understand it. So I think they're going to use a lot of the prem money to finish building the stadium or to help pay for the stadium, get out of debt for the stadium. Because you've seen teams that do this to get the new stadium. I mean, Tottenham's going
Yeah.
through it right now. They're not. They went out and they got a couple guys, but comparatively, they weren't not spending like Arsenal didn't spend with the Emirates, but comparatively to the rest of the big six, the top six, whatever it is, the 8, the 7, I don't know. Pretty soon we're just going to call it the Big 20 because it seems like a guy gets added to it every year. Comparatively, it's not as much. And I think Luton Town's like, we can't stay up and build the stadium and be ready to actually stay up, like be one of the teams in a couple of years. Because I think Luton Town very much wants to be like a Crystal Palace. Yo-yo a bit and then be like every year I'm here.
Yeah. And I think
know.
that's for lower teams like that's probably the model that you want to follow. I think the Brighton model is the ideal one. But that's one that I just don't think a lot of teams have the capability of right now. I just think Brighton have there's not a better backroom staff in my opinion in the Premier League than probably Brighton. With what they do as far as transfers and player development, I don't think there's anybody better in the Prem.
Absolutely not. And
so
they're doing it better.
Hard.
They're doing it better than like Southampton ever did.
Yeah. And Southampton was pretty damn good at it.
Southampton was very, very good at getting guys, absolutely. But Brighton also knows how to sell them.
Yeah.
And they only sell when, hey, you're not getting Caicedo. It's that simple. You're just not getting Caicedo. Why? We don't have a replacement for him. Here's a Trossard. We have a Matoma. It's fine. And that was like, I feel like every Southampton would like just make a bunch of money. But they never really had the replacement. Of course, then you're going to argue, how do you replace Van Dijk? It's like, well, you don't. There's no like for like with Van Dijk. But all right, moving on to, I guess people are going to call it the top 7 with the Saudi money. They probably are the newest members of the top 7. But Newcastle.
Yeah, I've got a lot to say on this one. I don't appreciate the way that. Listen, man, this is the toughest situation because like I want to be able to be not biased and because obviously I don't like that the owners are allowed to even be there considering they're murderers and whatnot. And all the people that are out there on the social medias and saying that, oh well, they're not direct owners, it's a group ownership. Bullshit.
Don't watch
flat out BS. It's not. You're owned by a country. You're owned by a guy who's a murderer, murdered a U.S. journalist. I mean, let's just put that's probably the most famous one. He did murder 80 people in one day recently. You can Google that and be the first thing that comes up. It's not a secret how bad the people are that are owning this club. And I don't think that the people that are actual fans are grasping the magnitude of this. This is not just league changing. This is perceptually changing throughout the course of sports. This is what the definition of sports washing is. So yeah. It's hard for me not to be a little biased, with the way I feel about Newcastle, because to be honest with you, they don't belong to be there. They don't. There's no way that the influx of money is one thing. People want to say, oh, they haven't spent that much. Again, it's another lie. They've spent probably the 3rd or 4th most in the Premier League since they've been overtaken. And in fact, before Chelsea, they were number 1. They spent 250 million in the span of 12 months, 12 or 18. I can't remember the stat. They spent more than anybody. And
I don't think anyone who tells you that they haven't spent money is not actually paying attention. It is that simple. You're not paying attention to what's going on. And there's a lot of ways to spend money. It's getting the coaches, it's getting the back, it's getting all the assistant coaching. That's one of the things that City did forever. Look at their coaching staff. everyone that comes up through there. It's not just Pep. And I understand people are going to say, well, those are the people that come with Pep. Yeah, but that costs more money.
Yeah,
Everything costs money.
they
The
even took
70 million pounds on Tonali.
Liverpool's head of
I don't even know if
business.
that makes sense.
Yeah, Liverpool's head of business just went there this morning. That was the big thing that came out today. The guy that basically struck a lot of the partnership deals.
Uh,
He was the
it's
head
now
of
at
the.
Newcastle.
He's now at Newcastle. So not that they
Making that
really need
money.
it, since they make up, just like City, they'll just make up another sponsorship and say it's from England or something like that when it's really out of some bank account in the Far East or something. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. It's, I don't know. And I feel bad because, I mean, I have friends who support Newcastle. I know a guy from Newcastle. He lives in Del Mar now. And
Really?
it's like, it's not the first thing I bring up with him all the time because I know it sucks, but at the same time, it's
But you
like
bring it up. I bring it up. I bring it up
you
too.
don't deserve to be here, and you know it, and he knows it. But at the same time, like if Arsenal got bought by the Saudis, I don't know if I'd actually stop supporting Arsenal because again, like we talked about, you have the team and the players and the fans and this wonderful thing that gets built up, and then you have the other people who bought it, and
Yeah.
especially with Newcastle. Honestly, I'm not even that. I'm a little worried about Newcastle. Eddie Howe's a great coach. I think they made good signings. Um, I think they overpaid on some, but you get to overpay when you have Saudi money, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Um, but this is the team that we drew and finished ahead of. We finished second. I think that they're going to have a tough time with a renewed Chelsea. I think they're going to have a tough time with a renewed Liverpool. I'm not sure that they're guaranteed top four like a lot of people think that they are. So this isn't I don't like the new kid in town because they're beating up on me type of thing. I don't like them because I don't like who owns them. It's that simple. And it's the same thing that I bring up with City. I
Yeah.
remember when I was younger and City won their first league back in 11, and I was like, oh, good. United got what was coming to them. I'm so freaking sick of United. And now I look back and I was like, oh, I was so naive back then.
I know. Me too. Me too. I was like, yeah, parody. No, it's
God, it felt so nice to have United lose. And then Will, who we had on the pod during the Habitat for Humanity thing, he's like, I remember he was yelling, "You can't just buy all the people you want." I'm like, "Shut up! You guys do that. Deal with it. You got your own medicine." Now I'm like, I am so sorry.
yeah, it's interesting to realize, how exactly they are going about their business, because they aren't hiding it. Obviously, their negotiation tactics, I think, are a lot different from what we've seen with a lot of other Prem teams. It's probably closer to City, to be honest with you, but um, like you look at the Livermento deal that just got done this past week. One of those ones that they kind of been trying to get for a long time. With obviously Southampton are tough negotiators, but the Tonali deal was quick. The Anthony Gordon deal was quick. Um, there's a lot of deals that they've struck so far. The Guimaraes deal was another one that was very, very quick, came out in left field. The Botman deal was very quick. That's the thing with the way they're going about. They're not hiding the fact that they have money, and I think that other teams need to realize this and tack on more for them. Tack on more when they come. You want 80 million for a player, make it at least 90 to 100 million, because you're going to get it. They're going to pay, and they don't care. They've got allotted money that their government puts out for the club. Then that's what they use. It's the same way with you think about the Saudi league. The Saudi league has $17 billion that have been handed to the top four clubs, and that's how they're going about spending money. That's how you get a Sadio Mane, a Ronaldo, and a Conte, and a Fabinho over to your league. That's how you do it. So they're going the money route, and it's not a secret. It's never was a secret. But I think we are kind of sweeping it under the rug for the fact that they played really good football last year. And
They did. They did. Eddie Howe's absolutely
what it comes
amazing.
down to.
Joe Willock has just been reborn out there. I mean, Guimaraes is amazing. Everything they do seems to work. They had the joint best defense last year, and they went out and got better with Tonali at times. And I'm not I think Tonali might actually hurt them. He makes a lot of lateral passes. He's not a very ball driving forward, but
Yeah.
I trust Eddie Howe. I know what he wants. I know he knows what he wants.
I'm interested to see where they use him because if they're smart, I mean, their formation has to change, right? Their formation
Yep.
can't be with one central defender anymore. It has to be with a double pivot. You have to play Tonali and Guimaraes next to each other. Move Joelinton up the pitch a little bit. I don't necessarily know if Tonali is going to be a Premier League type number 6, as a lot of people think he might be. I think he's more closer to that hybrid 8-6 kind of double pivot role.
Yep. I think a lot of people look at him and they see the big nose and the Italian face, and they go, "Oh, it's Pirlo," and it's like, I don't know if it is.
I don't think he's quite Pirlo. I've heard that a lot, and it just doesn't. It baffles me that you can just say, "Oh, hey, Italian guy must be Pirlo." Must be that type of player. He's not. He's not Pirlo. He'll never be Pirlo. That was in my opinion, one of the best one of the best midfielders I think I've ever seen.
Oh yeah. Went out, spent $45 million on Harvey Barnes.
Yeah.
To play in the same position that they spent $45 million on Anthony Gordon.
And to even add to that, they've had discussions with Napoli for Kvaratskhelia, and they've also had some rumored interest in possibly getting Neymar next year. So I mean, how many left wingers can you have at one club that are all kind of the same? I mean, right now they're all kind of the same player. They're the end product not quite there. Harvey Barnes probably a little bit of a leg up than
Harvey Barnes is 100% a leg up on Anthony Gordon.
I think
I never understood the Anthony Gordon buy. I thought it was dumb.
Trash, in my opinion.
I really don't think he's that good. I know you're gonna think he's trash because he's Everton.
I think he's trash. I mean,
for a non-rival fan, I never thought he was that good.
So I was telling Aaron in the last show, I was watching. I was kind of going through my reminiscence of Fabinho Henderson, and I was watching a couple of Liverpool games this past week, and I watched 2 matches in particular. Obviously, Everton Liverpool matches, and Anthony Gordon had more yellow cards for diving than Everton scored in goals in both matches combined. And I'm like, that's what you're getting. That's the type of player you're getting. You're not getting a guy that's going to influence a game, and win you a game. So $45 million for that, I think, is a bit of
which is so weird because that's exactly what they have on the right side.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. I mean, Almiron is amazing and it is an influencer and can win you a game and did that several times last year. I'm not sold on Alexander Isak yet, or Isak. Sorry, I'm not sold on him yet. I don't know.
I'm not either. And I don't know if you think it comes down to the amount that he plays, because I don't think he plays quite enough with Callum Wilson. I think Callum.
But if Callum Wilson is consistently starting over you, you shouldn't have been worth 70 million, 80 million, whatever they paid for.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It comes back to is you got both these guys fighting for the same minutes. Is it going to end up hurting the other one? But then again, I'm also thinking those are 2 damn good options though to have as your number 9. And you think of it this way, long term, once Callum Wilson decides to leave, I mean, it's only upgrade from there. I mean, then now they can really go out and spend and get, that $90-100 million player that would probably really fit them.
Well, this year Newcastle will have Prem Football, League Cup, FA Cup, and Champions League. Callum Wilson is the wrong side of 30 now.
Yeah.
And he is not going to play all those minutes. If Isak's healthy, he's going to have plenty of minutes. And he's going to have minutes in the Prem or the Champions League. I don't know if Callum Wilson's going to have the legs to play on a Tuesday night and then turn around on a Saturday all the time. So we're going to see a lot more Isak. Maybe he grows. Maybe he gets older. Maybe this is it. Maybe they spent 70 million euros on a player that's not any good. I have no idea. Yeah. I don't know if I still don't know where all the goals are going to come from, because Almiron, when he's on fire, absolutely, him and Guimaraes and Callum Wilson can score you goals, sure. And they had a plus 35 goal differential last year, which is good. It is good. The left wing side is still a mess. I mean, I don't want Anthony Gordon playing in the Champions League. I don't want him playing in the Prem. So is he just the FA Cup guy? Now Harvey Barnes is your guy. I don't know. I don't know if it's good enough. I know that they are going to play very well. The other thing to talk about with Newcastle actually is they had the least amount of ball time in play last year.
Yeah.
And with the new stoppage time rules coming in, you're going to start seeing longer games to make up for that.
And I just want to bring it back to Liverpool Newcastle, third match week last season. Same actually as this season, Liverpool Newcastle, third match week this year. But the big thing about that game was the added time from the Newcastle time wasting, and that's how Liverpool won the match. Well, this is a wake up call. I think, in my opinion, that game was a wake up call to the Prem to say that this is BS, that teams are allowed to fake injuries, hold their heads when they go down when they're not even hit in the face. A lot of Bruno Fernandes type ish, if you want to talk about it. This is kind of I think
I
it's a
never
rule
want to talk about Bruno Fernandes.
I think this is kind of a rule to kind of slate those players. And to be honest with you, I love it. I absolutely love it. I want more football. I want less rolling around on the pitch. I want less, faking of injuries and stuff and going down. Because you look at the
I
team
was
that did it the
always
most, it was them. It was
yeah,
Newcastle.
they did it. They did it the most. I was always fine with it happening in the 70th minute, and everyone got a break for just like, all right, you know what? I'm just gonna sit here for 2 minutes. Everyone catch their breath, and it's gonna be fine. But now it's constant. It's like so the Prem's I don't know if it's the Premier League or NBC Sports on YouTube, but one of them's been putting out like the last 10 minutes of really great matches.
Yeah.
And it was so it was the Arsenal Bournemouth one from last year, which I will watch the last 10 minutes of that match all the time. And one of the thank God the referee, I forget who it was, but the referee did at the time because in the 92nd minute, one of the Bournemouth guys just goes down with an injury to try to eat time, and he just extended it. And everyone's like, "Oh, we just played till Arsenal wins." It's like, no, he went down with a fake injury in stoppage time. You don't get to eat away the clock like that. That's not the way the game was designed. And it was never an issue back when you played through concussions and broken legs and whatever. And now that you don't, it becomes this issue.
I think it also has more to do with the way the games are televised now. I mean, you're trying to bring in more fans, especially globally, with the Premier League. You're trying to keep the game in a nice steady flow, and create more action. And this is the way you do it. This is the way that you do that. You get more eyes on your sport, it'll also make younger players understand that this part of the game needs to change, and if you want to make it to the best level, you're gonna have to improve your game instead of your tactics when it comes to crap like that.
So where do you think they end up?
Newcastle. I'm gonna say they end up fifth. No, I'm gonna say they end up sixth. I think they're gonna come a little bit short. I do think Champions League is gonna be a lot for them. I could see them I mainly see them getting knocked out in the groups. I think they're gonna, being the bottom English club in the draw, they're obviously gonna get a tough draw. I could see them getting like a Barcelona, something like that, a Bayern Munich in their group, and I think that's the one that kind of kills them. I definitely could see them, going out first. Then again, if they manage to get that second spot in their group and get out, I could see them, one or two wins, and then they're gone. They're probably not going to get that far. They're not going to win it. I can tell you that right now. They're not going to win it unless there's something absolutely crazy that they do in the market and they bring in, I don't know, somebody. If they bring in like an Mbappe, then I could see them probably winning it. But another left winger, by the way. That's the only way I
would actually fix our problem
easily. Yeah, could definitely see them making a run to something like that happen. But I think group stage Champions League is probably where they end up. Probably get knocked back into Europa, maybe if they finish third. But at this point, I think it's their main goal is to get back to the Champions League next year. that's what I think they're going to try to focus on. I don't think the cups are going to be that big for them. I could see them use that's where Anthony Gordon will probably play, but yeah, six, six and no trophies in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't. I could see six. I could see fourth. I can't see higher than fourth. I can't really also see lower than seventh. I think they're going to end up right in there.
Yeah,
It's hard. We had conversations about where we're going to play guys in the Albany Gooners chat, and one was like, play this guy against top 10 teams and this guy against bottom 10 teams. Like, first of all, they play differently, and second of all, who is who? You don't know yet, right?
yeah,
So you're talking about the draw, and like I agree. I agree with your thinking on how they're going to end up and where the draws are going to be. But at the same time, until the draw happens, I don't know. You know, you're talking about Europa, and earlier you're talking about Europa and Liverpool and a good shot they have, and they do have a good shot. They have a very good shot. I agree, but you never know who's going to screw up in the group stages and then come down, and next thing you know, somehow you end up with Atletico Madrid in Europa League and you get bounced out in the final, or the semifinal. That's what happens.
I was
It's
telling Aaron in the in the last show. I said the one thing that I want most this year is I want Manchester United in Europa League. I want that more than anything.
yeah,
I want them to come down after after they get knocked out in the group stage. I want them to come down and I want them to come to Anfield in the knockouts. That would be
that would be
peak rivalry football right there because it's because both teams are at their supposedly going to be or somewhere near their heights where their peaks are right now this season at this point. They're going to be around that time. That's where they're going to know. They're going to know what they have. Their rosters are set. It's out of both transfer windows. It's for the end of the season. So that I think is going to be pivotal in how those two teams play. But to get back to Newcastle, I don't know if there's a team in the Prem that's going to be more how would I put it? More inconsistently consistent, if that makes sense. I do think they're going to play good. They're going to play the good teams very well, but I do think they can slip up against those bad teams, those teams that sit in low defensive blocks that are going to play similar to the way they play.
yeah. They could get diced a lot.
Yeah, look. I mean,
I
looking at.
could see that happening.
I mean, Brentford is one of those. I think. I think Crystal Palace. I think is going to be set up more defensively this year. Fulham, I think, are going to be a little bit more defensive this year. A lot of these teams are looking to just get up, get points, stay up. That's what we got to do, and I think that's where they're going to nip points from the top group.
Well, and a lot of their points last year happened in that the first third, kind of like in like the first quarter, between the quarter and the second quarter, whatever you'd call that, of the season, where Almiron just decided that he was going to be a world beater.
Yeah.
And you always got to want how many times is he going to do that? They got a lot of points there last year, and they started to die off towards the end. And I understand that a lot of teams did that, and that's not just an indictment on them. But again, I'm looking at this. Unless Almiron goes off or Isak really turns into the player he's supposed to be, I can see a lot of 1-1 or 0-0 draws. That's just going to start eating away at what's going on. I could see some 1-0 and 2-1 losses because they're not actually getting the goals that they need to get, and they're getting diced on, corners, and the other team's playing in a low block. I could see a lot of that happening. So, but I could also see them performing incredibly well and, challenging for even third or second. I think that the top three teams are kind of set in stone this year. And I know that a lot of people are going to think that that's crazy because a lot of people have Spurs high up and a lot of people have Chelsea higher up. And I don't think either one of them is going to do it this year. Next year, not Spurs, because they didn't spend any money. We're about to get to Spurs. We'll talk about Spurs in a second. I could see Chelsea doing it next year if Mauricio Pochettino cleans out all the garbage and gets guys performing again. But I think that the top three teams are set, and I think it's really a fight for fourth and lower. Yeah. And I don't know where that's going to be. I don't know where they're going to end up. But speaking for a team that I think has no shot at the top four, we're moving on to Spurs, and it's not just because of this. They are in a horrible, horrible transition year. And I understand that Ange Postecoglou has had success everywhere he goes. This is the biggest league he's ever done it in. Yes, you did great in the Australian League. And yes, you won the Socceroos a Asian Cup. And those are two things that are impressive. You know? You did it with two teams in the Australian League. And that's great. And then the Asian Cup, that's an international competition. You have Korea and Japan. It's not just like nobody exists in the Asian Cup. I don't really care about you winning the Scottish Prem 2 years in a row with Celtic.
Brendan
If
Rodgers.
you had done it with a team that wasn't Celtic or Rangers, then I would pay more attention. But I mean, Jesus, was it Steven Gerrard who was winning it with Rangers all the time?
Yeah, he actually he went invincible 1 year.
And how good of a coach is he? So that doesn't mean anything to
You
me.
can
Now
ask
I'm not.
Al Attifak how good of a coach he is.
Yeah, they won't be able to tell me. I won't understand what they're saying. But yeah, it that doesn't mean anything to me. It also doesn't mean he's going to be bad. But I don't know how he takes this team, this squad of Spurs players, with Harry Kane potentially having one foot out the door, and you do anything with him. You have Richarlison. Okay, great. He never performs for club. This is not a Spurs thing. He didn't do it for Everton.
Yeah.
You put him in a yellow Brazilian shirt, and he turns into the second coming of Pele. But if he's in a club shirt, he's just some guy.
Mm-hmm.
Emerson Royale is still the right back. I think James Maddison was a good get. Yeah. I know that the midfield is where they had issues last year. I mean, well, they had issues in a lot of places. Midfield is one of them. I think Madison's a good get. I think they paid more than they needed to. They finalized Kulusevski. I can't believe that kid's only 23.
I know. Right? He looks like
I was very confused when I read it. I didn't realize he was on loan. So I read it. I'm like, did they really just sell him to Juventus? Like, why would they do that? And then I read it closer. And I was like, oh, never mind. Got it. This makes sense. Perisic is a great player, but he's 34 now. I don't know. I don't know what he's gonna do. Your goalkeepers are Lloris, Forster, and Vicario, and Whiteman.
Lloris is actually gone now. Lloris is
he officially gone?
He's not official, but he will be leaving the club. I think they're still negotiating, but I know he's on his way out.
Your center defense. I've never believed in Christian Romero. He makes too many dumb mistakes. Eric Dyer is not. He's not that good. He's always been fine, but he's never been good enough.
Davinson Sanchez is gone now.
Is he gone?
He is gone. He, I believe he's going to. I believe he's going to a Russian team, if I'm not mistaken.
Really, man, Transfermarkt is out of date.
Spartak Moscow. Maybe?
That's not like them.
Or I know he's going to one of the Russian teams. There was a big to do over Spurs doing a deal with one of the Russian teams.
Market value on December 10th of 2019 was $60 million. Market value for Davinson Sanchez now on June 20th of 2023 is $50.
Oh, wow, that low.
You should see it just.
Wow.
Interested club probability of transfer for Spartak Moscow is 96%.
Yeah, I think it's basically it's a done deal. They just gotta do like medicals and stuff like that. Perhaps
they went out and they got Joe Rodon, another center back from Stade Rennais. Right? Yep. Guys, don't make me speak French. Don't ever.
French, oui.
It's not. That's about all I can do. All I can do is the awful, not truthful at all laugh. Ashley Phillips from Blackburn Rovers as a center back. Destiny Udogie from Udinese. Udogie, that makes a lot more sense. From Udinese, I mean, that was 25. That's a left back. That can help with your... They have a fullback problem.
Yeah. Pedro Porro's still there, if I'm not mistaken, right? Pedro Porro?
Yeah, it looks like that might have been a finalized transfer. And that's probably the best.
I mean, I wanna believe in his skill set's there, Pedro Porro. It's just a matter of how do you fit him into a team. Will he come back and play defense? I do think defense is probably his frailty. Obviously, going forward, ball at his feet, he's very good, but um, defensively, I think is where he leaves your back line a little susceptible. That's why I never understood the way they want to use that kind of like a pseudo back five, back three with the three real center backs and then the two wing backs that like to bomb forward a little bit. Um, I get the point that they're trying to do, but I don't understand that with the players you have, it just doesn't work. Like Emerson Royale. I mean, he's so wishy washy, hot and cold. He can have great games. There's no doubt. I've seen him have a couple great games this past year, but there's games where you look at him and I'm like, this dude is not quality for the Prem. Like he should be playing for like a Leeds, something like that. Like there's
Yeah.
points where I'm like, how was this dude on a top 6, 7, whatever they want to be side? Like there's not there's not a player out there that I think is quite like him that can um, be so hot and cold at times and just really weird.
I think a lot of people got this idea that he's going to be this great player because Barcelona technically bought him twice.
Yeah, right. Well,
And it's
Barcelona also had Junior Firpo and that they spent a lot of money.
you
For.
miss.
Oh,
Everybody misses.
yeah.
Everybody misses. I I think for me the biggest thing with Emerson Royale was that red card he had in the North London Derby last year was so bad. It's like the worst kind of red card, not because it was just lazy. It was awful. It was a horrible, horrible idea. And we can argue over whether or not it should have been a red or not. But that's not good enough. That's not where you need to perform at any point, and it's not going to be good enough against what's happening in the Prem right now. I think their defense to me is looking better. I still don't like their center defensive, but Pedro Porro, they went and got him from Sporting Portugal. He was a loan last year. They went and spent 40 on him. I look at this midfield and Højbjerg and Betancourt is currently injured.
Seems like he's always
Although end of the month.
Vancouver.
Although it was a cruciate ligament rupture, forgot about that.
Yeah,
Basuma doesn't really do anything for me.
The big thing for me, I mean, if Spurs are gonna have a somewhat decent season, it all comes back to their attack. Like losing Harry Kane is going to be huge if they want to keep going forward. The fact that they are leaving this so late in the window, if he goes, if they want to bring somebody in, it's going to be. I mean, it's going to be hard to bring somebody in that's that good or at a level where you can plug and play.
They can't. They're not going to bring anyone in at that level right now.
They've tied their own hands on this one because if you were excuse me, if you knew he was going to leave, you knew this guy had interest last year, the year before that, with the whole City debacle. You knew this guy was looking to win some trophies, looking to leave. Why not get the deal done early in the window so that you can basically rejuvenate your entire squad with the money you're going to get from him? Because you're going to get a lot. The offer that just came in was over 100 million euros. That's nothing to poo-poo about. I mean, that's a lot of money that you can spend on a team that needs spending, and that is going to generate a lot of money as is. But what are they trying to do? What is Daniel Levy trying to do and the ownership trying to do? They don't have
all right. Who the heck knows what Daniel Levy is trying to do at any given moment? But their director of football just got suspended for like 3 years. So you talk about, and this is, I think I brought it up in some of the pods last year. Let's go get the money for him, and I agree. Let's go get the money for him from a Spurs standpoint. No one's going to like to hear me say this, but let's go get the money for him so that we can finish paying off the stadium.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to be able to turn it around. You need to have good guys in place who can go get you, who know what to do with the money.
Yeah.
If you handed $100 million to the team at Liverpool, the McAllister, the please pronounce the midfielder's name that I cannot.
Zoboslai.
Thank you.
Zobo for sure.
Those guys. You hand that to Edu and let him go out to his barbecue and like we're gonna get a good player out of it. If you get $100 million in the Spurs right now, it's not even the end of the window.
Yeah.
Look at what they've done. They got James Madison, who everyone knows was good. And they finalized Perisic. They finalized Kulusevski and they finalized Pedro Porro, who were loan guys last year that they just officially brought. They went out and bought players that they were already had. They had to spend that much money to just keep the team the same and not even extend. Well, I guess technically extend because now they've signed contracts, but you had to go buy those guys to even get them. They haven't really done anything that surprises me. Solomon's new, so that's great for them, I suppose. And they went out and they got a couple cheap defenders.
Yeah, I think they're not a team that's going to, in my opinion, they're not gonna wow a lot of people this year. They're gonna play some decent football. Postecoglou, by the way, I think his style of football and his coaching is great, but it's not what this Spurs team needs right now. The Spurs team needs a complete roster overhaul before they need a new coach, in my opinion.
I think they put the cart in front of the horse.
You look at who they had last year for coaching wise, and you realize why they, a coach was a big deal. But Postecoglou's not I don't think he's a terrible coach. I think his tactics are great. I think his the way he likes to set up his teams are great. He's going to set them up to succeed.
But what issues is he going to have with Daniel Levy? Because look at the coaches.
Exactly.
Mourinho wins everywhere he goes, apart from Tottenham.
Yeah.
And Conte wins everywhere he goes, apart from Tottenham.
Well, here's the thing about Mourinho. I'm going to go back to this on Mourinho because I still think this is the case. Mourinho would have won a trophy.
Oh, yeah, he would have. But he got fired the week before.
The week before. That was for bonuses. They were going to have to pay him a crap load of bonuses.
And that's my point.
They got rid of him.
Spurs are not going to win anything until Daniel Levy's gone. So to that I say, long live Levy.
Right?
Because I love watching the shit show.
Where do you?
By the way,
where do you think Spurs finish? Because I might surprise a lot of people with this.
I think that if they finish 7th, they should be ecstatic. They might finish 10th. They might finish bottom table.
If they stay stagnant and they do sell Harry Kane, I think 8th, 9th is a good season for them.
If they sell Harry Kane, 8th and 9th, I don't even think it's attainable. I really don't think 8th or 9th is attainable.
I think they'll get those wins. They'll get their wins. You know what I mean?
If they sell, and I also the cascade effect. If they sell Harry Kane in this summer window, which I don't think they will, which is now the worst because now he's just going to walk.
Yeah,
you're going to get nothing for him, and you're not making the Champions League.
No way.
There's absolutely Postecoglou. If you guys make the Champions League with this squad, Postecoglou gets a statue right away.
Oh yeah,
he has to.
Yeah. They might build.
So you're not making. You're not making the Champions League. So you're not gonna keep any. There's always that argument of if I keep him and he gets me into the Champions League, even if he walks on a free, I'm still making money because of Champions League football. You're not gonna get that anymore. It's not happening. So. You have to sell him, but you can't sell him because you can't get anyone in. It's an impossible situation. I almost feel for Daniel Levy, but I don't.
Actually, breaking news if you want to throw this in. Rasmus Højlund has just been announced by Manchester United. So that deal is done from Atalanta for £75 million base or 75 million euro, base fee. From what I see, and with add-ons, that could put it well over that, some 85 million. So that is done. They have their striker now at United, who I love how the comparisons are already being made to Erling Haaland, and this guy had like 10 goals last year, and I don't understand what people are freaking looking at. It makes absolutely no sense. And to be honest with you, Ten Hag, I don't think he's that good of a coach. I don't. I really, really don't. And I think people are blowing steam up his butt, and that's why, everybody thinks he's so good.
He had a very, very good team at Ajax.
Yeah.
I think that he at times it's tough with him because I think that he at times had really good. I don't know. I'm waiting on him.
I think he's
From the outside looking in, he very much right now could kind of be in that Mikel Arteta mode in like 2019, 2020, 2021 when everyone's like, I don't see what everyone's talking about. And I was drinking the Arteta Kool-Aid, and I'm glad I did. But I don't know yet because United is just it's such a mess. It's such a mess over there with De Gea being awful and the Ronaldo situation, the egos you had going on, the infighting you had going on. It was just such a mess. I don't know. Oh, and then Maguire. Anyway, we're starting a little late. We still have one team we got to talk about, and we're going to talk about them a lot. But I think I told you I have that extension on my web browser that turns every form of Spurs into just the word shit.
Yes.
The transfer marks page for Spurs is amazing because it's just got shit across the top. My favorite pot.
Can you share your screen? I want to see. I gotta see that.
All right, because I have a favorite part. Share that screen. Select window.
Is that again? If you've seen us at Wolves Beer Garden, that
this is my favorite part. The squad of shit. The squad of shit.
Oh my god!
When I was looking up their new stadium a couple years ago, it was great. It was just welcome to shit stadium. This is the best. Stadium, shit stadium. Boom. The San Antonio Spurs catch little
flack in that one.
Yeah, a little flack every once in a while. I don't mean to do that to them, but yeah, this is what it's all about. And it catches you off guard. You'll just be like looking at the table and then suddenly just see shit. You're like, wait,
shit.
what? Official club name. Shit.
This is the best way to end a Spurs segment, is it not?
Yeah, it probably is. Ashley Phillips signs. No. Come on. It's always great when it's something like this too, like shit versus Shakhtar.
Oh my god!
I think on one it was something like this. It was season tickets now on sale, and it was like season tickets now on sale. Come watch shit in person. Latest from shit women.
Oh my god!
Shit versus Lion City Sailors. To be fair, they have won a trophy. They've won the Asian Lion Cup of 2023, whatever.
By beating Lion City Sailors.
By beating Lion City Sailors 5-1. They were down 1-0 at one point.
That sounds like some really awful It sounds like a Mediterranean team that they.
It sounds like the mobile, like you got a mobile game, and it's all they don't have the rights, so they have to go with fake names.
Right?
That's what that sounds like. The shit media watch. These stories have been specifically selected from today's media. They do not necessarily represent the views or position of the shit football club. For total shit news coverage. Oh man. All right. There we go.
I don't know. I wasn't done yet.
We could go on for a while.
Oh my god, that's his own show.
It really is. It's so much fun. I've used it for years. It's amazing. We actually have in our bylaws for the Albany Gooners that to become a member, you have to answer the "What do we think of Tottenham" chant correctly. And if you don't, then you're not in. We had that problem last year, actually, in the last day of the season. Guys like, dude, I want to join. I'm like, cool. What do we think of Tottenham? He's like, oh, dude, I hate Tottenham. I'm like, no. What do we think of Tottenham? He's like, I don't like Tottenham. I'm like, all right, you know what? Go ask the guys what you're supposed to say and come back to me. Speaking of, we're on to the final team of the segment.
I'm ready.
Don't worry about it. I'm probably going to be in the driver's seat for this one anyway.
Oh my god!
The team with the highest squad value, this is so weird to even say, highest squad value in the world right now, 1.2 billion, the Arsenal. Went out, got their guy.
Is that in rubles?
Declan Rice is on rubles. No, 1.2 billion. I can't believe it. Part of it is Aaron Ramsdale. It's the English tax on some players. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Like Bukayo Saka is amazing, and he deserves to be as expensive as he is. I love Ramsdale. I'm okay with going to get David Raya because I do think that he improves us in certain ways.
We got to have this conversation, I think. You want to start with that? Let's start with that.
Yeah, but anyway, sorry, just real quick. Aaron Ramsdale being the most expensive goalkeeper in the world is English tax. There's no way to look around.
Yeah.
But yeah, we could start there. We could start with the transfer that hasn't happened and saved all the good transfers that do happen for later.
This is the most intriguing one for me because I brought it up with Aaron in the last show. Like this transfer is the most because we were talking about Brighton, is the most head scratching one for me, considering how much I thought Arsenal fans loved Aaron Ramsdale and how well he played last year. He did play well. To their defense, I mean, I thought he was their. I thought they found their number one, and the fact that I mean, we're not even 3 months off the end of the season, they already want to replace him. I can't explain that.
There's a lot of guys. Well, I can, and it comes back to the same stats you were using last year to defend Allison. Those same stats have David Raya as the number 4 goalkeeper in the Prem, and they have Ramsdale as the number 13. Ramsdale is usually good at playing out from the back. He's now gone 2 years in a row where at the end of the season he has this horrible lull.
Yeah.
It has been 2 years in a row that he's done this. He's also young. He's going to be 25. And I know people say, well, he should be older. No, he got relegated twice. He has not been playing at a high level for a long time. In fact, if we do end up getting David Raya and Ramsdale doesn't want to be the number 2 guy, then he could always go back to Sheffield United because he got relegated from them. You know,
and Bournemouth.
I love Ramsdale. I love Ramsdale. I love Matt Turner. I love our goalkeepers, but I am not going to pretend that they are the best goalkeepers in the world. And if Arteta, I think this is what it comes down to. If Garlic and Arteta and Edu think that this improves the team, at this point, I trust them. They don't miss. They have not missed on anything since Edu came in. If you look at our transfer record for like the 3 years before, or even the 5, 6, 7 years before, even in some of the Arsene Wenger later years when he didn't have the money or the ability to spend on anything. And then you look at what Edu's done. Everything that's good about this team happened in the Edu windows. And I completely trust him. I completely trust everything they do. And they don't miss. Everyone's freaking out. Oh, Kai Havertz, we didn't need that. If Arteta says this is the guy I want, I'm going to go get him. And by the way, yeah, he did struggle at Chelsea last year. First of all, who didn't? And second of all, he scored a Champions League winning goal. Dude plays in big moments. So, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about goalkeepers. I think from a shot-stopping ability, I think David Raya is better. Of course, I will also always say this. The hardest position on the field to have concrete stats is goalkeeping. Expected goals is kind of a horrible stat because it's all about where the ball is before the attacker kicks it and where would you expect it to be. It has nothing to do with the defense. It has nothing to do with any of that. Do you have guys blocking the shots? Do you have guys blocking your view? Do you have nobody? Because a one-on-one from an angle is got to be a higher percentage than, a ball pinging around the middle of the box and, I kicked it from the penalty spot. But it's like, yeah, then there's 15 people between me and the goal, and it's so tough. So I don't know. I would have loved to go get a Allison type or an Ederson type or an Onana type because I think that they're all improvements, but that's not where we wanted to spend the money. And if we could get David Raya for good. The problem is everyone says, well, Matt Turner leaves. I don't know if Ramsdale plays the number 2.
I can't see Ramsdale being accepted of a number 2 role. And in my opinion, I was saying this to Aaron, I do think he's going to have to be the number 2. Aaron agreed as well.
If we go and get Raya, he would be the number 2. He would.
You think Raya would be the number 2?
No, I think Ramsdale would be the number 2.
Okay.
I think Ramsdale would be the number 2.
Yeah, I don't know where he ends up at this point, because you have to sell him, right? I would assume you'd sell him. And to be honest with you, the team that's going to be after him, Manchester United. That's who's going to try to get him. And to be honest with you, that's money in Arsenal's pocket if you can get it. You
really think United would go after
for an English goalkeeper? In my opinion, probably one of the top 3 English goalkeepers. Although again, I was saying the other day, I do think that kid that's just got transferred to Burnley is that James Trafford. That dude's a stud. He's going to be extremely good. But right now, I mean, it's Nick Pope, it's Aaron Ramsdale, and I don't put Pickford in that category. He's not.
Everyone else does. I've never understood why.
I don't get it.
I don't think United's going to go after him. I think United's going to be very happy with Onana. I think United's happy with Onana. I don't think they spend more money on Ramsdale.
Oh yeah, that's right. They got Onana. What am I thinking? Duh.
Yeah. And even then, he would be the number 2 there under Onana.
That's true.
So now it's. I think Ramsdale would go to a Forest, Bournemouth, Sheffield United. I could see him. I can't see him wanting to play for Chelsea, but I could see him being an improvement.
Well, Chelsea has to sign another goalkeeper as well. I think they're good. They're getting. They just got Robert Sanchez.
I don't see. Yeah, I don't see this move actually happening.
Yeah,
I honestly don't. I don't see us getting him.
I feel like it's almost too far down the line. Like it's almost like they kind of put themselves in that position, and now you have to do the deal.
Well, it's one of those, and this is something that I don't think we have to do the deal because we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. The way Arsenal does transfers, they've done this before, and everyone says, "Oh, you failed to get him." And Arteta and Eddie have come out and said, "We look at guys. We like this guy. We're willing to spend this much money. Let's go talk to the team." The team's not willing to spend the money. We walk away. There's the whole you don't want to mess with the chemistry of the team. But by the same token, you're in an ultra competitive sport. You're getting paid millions of dollars to play it. You have to be performing at your best all the time. Yep. I mean, the joke was, hey, we're going to go get David Raya, and then next day Aaron Ramsdale saves the pen. And Arteta just want to get him to play better. And I don't know if that's necessarily the truth. I don't believe that, but I do think there's a lot of you're always going to be asking the questions. If you don't think that we're knocking on doors and asking questions, you're out of your mind. Because while we have some very good people on this team, there's a better player on another team somewhere. There's not a better player on another team. It's not, I don't know. We have a very, very strong team. Like we have the highest valued team in the world right now. But as much as I love Fast Gabby, which is how we separate them, we have Big Gabby, Fast Gabby, and
Injured Gabby.
Yes, an injured Gabby. Well, we call him Gabby Crystal.
Gabby Glass.
Gabby Glass. As much as I love Fast Gabby, if we could go get Mbappe and play him on the left side, who wouldn't do that? So you always have to be asking those questions. Do you think Gabriel Martinelli's taking it hard that we were in for Mbappe? Everyone was in for Mbappe. Even Spurs was in for Mbappe, apparently.
I was in for Mbappe. I was looking actually for somebody that could mow my lawn this weekend. I was in. I can confirm that I was indeed in for Mbappe.
But I don't know. I don't know what the goalkeepers.
So long. I can't get to the
grass. Well, I have to get a lawnmower now. I have to buy one. I don't have one. I've never
had
one.
I got lucky. I got some hand-me-down ones. They run for about a good 2 months, and they turn off on me, and they shit the bed. So A lot like a loan for Mbappe, one would say.
Yeah,
You
well,
know,
like
you get
alone,
it for a little bit, works great, and then you got to
and
let it
then you
go.
dump it, you let it go. I don't know. I also think first of all, getting back to the other transfers, I love what we've done. Jurgen Timber, probably no surprise to anyone, is the signing that I'm most excited about. I think that's exactly what we needed. We could play him in a bunch of different positions. We now have another guy that, if Saliba goes down again, I feel can get into that position. Whether he plays in the center or he plays on the right. When I saw him play, he played almost in a 6 role against when I was down in DC, and he did that again in I think the Barcelona game. Playing much higher up, driving the ball forward. Really, really, really excited about him. Um, I really like the idea of Kai Havertz. I think that Kai Havertz's biggest problem was where he was playing. He has never been a striker. He has always been a deep lying, delayed attacking guy. I think that he is going to be the perfect Granit Xhaka replacement.
I think
I,
they can move him more forward as like a 10. You know,
I
him and Martin
yeah,
Odegaard is almost like um, two forward eights, I guess. Lack of a better term.
yeah. It's difficult the way we play now because especially with Leandro Trossard. Everyone's like, "Well, we play him up top." It's like, no, we don't. We need to play, and I think people forget this. Arteta was at City when City won the league so many times without having a true striker. He knows how to create chaos up top
Mm-hmm.
and have guys all over the place. And I've been saying this all year. Formations are dumb, especially now in the way football is played. Right now, formations don't matter anymore. We make them up as we go along. You have your game states, you have your ball possession, you have who has the ball when, and that dictates where players end up. We don't have true formations anymore. And that really, especially when fullbacks started being inverted all the time. I mean, people would yell about Trent Alexander-Arnold. Oh, he's not a defender. He's not. No, he's not. He's not. We need a place to put him. We did it with Zinchenko last year. We need a place to put him. So he goes in the left back slot on the team sheet because that's the way it works. But he's very rarely ever back there. And again, of course, he's back in training. Thank God.
Yeah, I heard he came down with an injury.
He had an injury and then he had a kid. He had a second kid.
Oh,
So
did he?
yeah. But he's back now. And then I think the other thing we can't, obviously we went out, we got our guy, the most expensive signing ever, the most expensive signing of the window, the most expensive signing for Arsenal ever. The most expensive signing of the window was Declan Rice, and I do think Declan Rice is the answer to a lot of our problems. I really, really do.
He's the one I probably have the most questions about, just because he did cost so much. I think he needs to, as you know how good he was last year. You know, we all saw what he did last year, taking his team to won the Conference League. Um, but also in the same sense, his team was also in a relegation fight. So I need to know exactly what he is. Do I think he's worth £100 million? I don't. I thought he was closer to probably a £70 million player, £65 million player, closer to what you guys paid for Kai Havertz. But obviously, being English, being a luxury of a guy that can play multiple roles in midfield, I think that's why you guys probably spent that type of money on him. So am I surprised you went for that much? No. I think that's probably what the value is for an English midfielder now. It's something like that. You look at Jude Bellingham, nearly the same price. So I think he's the one that I want to keep my eye on most this year. Where is he playing? Is he playing as a 6? Is he playing as an 8? Is he playing in a double pivot? Where exactly will Arteta fit him? Because I think the good thing about Arteta is when he gets players like this, they're versatile players. They're players that can play more than one position. You got Havertz that has played more than one position in the last however many years. He's played a little bit on the left wing, played a little bit as a 10, played a false 9. He's got a little bit of versatility as well. So I think that's you're seeing a lot more transfers of the big guys that are versatile in that sense, that can play a lot of different positions, do a lot of different things. But is the skill set there to match it? So far with Declan Rice, yes. But I just want that little bit more to let me know that this is the guy that can be relied on.
Yeah, no, I fully understand. I think with transfers being what they were, we probably
The
could have got
market's
a.
nuts. The
The
market's
market is
crazy.
nuts. Especially the market is nuts. The market's nuts for a Premier League team. The market's nuts for a Premier League team trying to buy an English player.
Yeah.
And the market's nuts for a Premier League team trying to buy an English player from a inner city rival.
Hmm.
And that's when you're done with the rival tax, the English tax, and the Prem tax. Him costing what he was. Plus the, oh, by the way, you need to outbid Man City tax. And again, I don't know how serious Man City ever was, but they came in with an offer that was higher than what we were going at, and we said, no, screw it, let's beat them. Let's just stop. Let's go out and get them. I think that you get to spend that kind of money on that last piece. The last piece can always be the most expensive piece. We watch this happen in baseball all the time. You build your team, you build your team, you build your team, and then the trade deadline hits, and you go out and you dump a bunch of very expensive prospects to go get that one guy you need to fill up. The last guy is always going to be the most expensive because everybody knows that you need him. Everybody knows that he's the last guy that you need before you can perform really, really well. I still have questions about whether or not Ramsdale can actually win us a Champions League in a couple years. I'm not saying that's going to be this year, but when you look at how good this team was, we only got better this year.
Yeah.
And I think we got a lot better because we got a lot more dynamic. Everyone can play in a different role now. And with, Gabby Christo now injured again, we have Valerian Balogun. We haven't sold him yet. Everyone thinks we're going to. I don't know if we will. We have him. We have Eddie. They're true center forwards. But quite frankly, I think against Nottingham Forest and maybe even against City, depending on how we want to play, you are going to see Trossard, Saka, and Martinelli all overlapping, all spending time in the middle, all spending time on the wings, just creating a ton of chaos up top.
Yeah. And that's where I think a lot of teams, especially the teams in the top six that end up playing Arsenal when they play Arsenal, like, is how are you going to control that chaos? How are you going to defend that chaos? Because that's what it's going to be. You're going to see it from both flanks, and you're probably going to see it now from the middle with Havertz being added. Because I think last year that's where they lacked it a little bit, was from the middle. On the flanks is where a lot of their business, the business end of the deal was kind of done.
And I think that's why I called Havertz the perfect Xhaka replacement, because we don't need it from the middle from Odie. Odegaard is amazing, but he is one guy.
Yeah.
Having a guy of Havertz's offensive ability take the squad position that was Xhaka's, that out of the middle. That's what I was kind of alluding to when I said that earlier.
So where do you obviously title race is they're there. They're in the title race. That's a given. Champions League, another option there for them too. I do think they're a stronger team to advance more than the other two we talked about, or at least Newcastle. Two domestic cups, I think, are easily capable of them to advance at least to a semifinal. No doubt about that. But finishing wise, this is the most intriguing team I think we've talked about in the entire lead up to the season, because there's so much potential. And yet last year, we saw glimpses of it that I think need to translate to another season. This is probably the most pivotal season for this football club, in my opinion. Can you get silverware? 1. 2, can you catch City? And then 3, can you sustain this for the long haul? And I think 3 might be the easiest out of all those because of how young some of their players are.
Young and extended.
Yeah. Not
that we're talking transfers. Everyone wants to talk about the new arrivals and the departures. We've extended Saka. We've extended Saliba. We've extended Martinelli. We have extended. I think we're in the middle of extending Odegaard. Mm-hmm. If we haven't already, I'm trying to remember. I've had a lot going on.
I think that one's close. I think I saw rumors of that one being close.
Yep. We have extended all of these guys. Our core is going to stay our core for a very long time. I think that the best bit of business that anyone did over the last 12 calendar months is Leandro Trossard for 27 million euros. That doesn't make sense to me. He was worth so much more than that. but that's what we got him for, and I'm very happy. Maybe the McAllister release clause, because I think he was also worth a lot more than 50.
That could be a crazy bit of business there. I mean,
Yeah, but those are the solid types of business. I think it's funny to watch how much everything shifted. We weren't even supposed to make top 4 last year. Through 19 games, we were on pace to be Centurions. 19 matches, we had 50 points. We got better, and we got better in ways that aren't just bigger names, but better in ways that shore up where our holes are. We went from having one number 6 for some of last year and all the year before in Thomas Partey, who will get injured, to Declan Rice, Thomas Partey, and Jorginho. I know Jorginho's old, but when you talk about that veteran leadership and his ability to know where to be on the pitch, he's our third string guy. I mean, that type of depth is what we need, and that's where we've been able to extend with our entire depth. When I talked about the 3 teams that are definitely in the top 3, Arsenal is one of them. I think if Arsenal fail to finish out of the top 3, it has to be seen as a failure. I think City's the other one, and I'll let you know what the third is later. But keep you in suspense. I think that this team has a serious shot at winning the title. I really do. City's going to have to do it again too. It's easier to think that they will because they have, but they're coming off a treble winning season. Gundogan's gone, and for a big part, he won them a lot of games at the end. I'm not saying that was it.
Won the title 2 years ago.
And this is like 2 years in a row now that he's kind of just come on and done this in the end of the season, and now he's not going to be there anymore. And I'm not saying that, City's no one without Gundogan. They still have amazing players that can do pretty much whatever they want to do. And if you doubt Pep now, you're just a fool. But if we're an incredibly young team. We were the youngest team in the Prem last year, at least at times. Then the only other team that was close to us was Southampton that got relegated. Yeah. We got another year older, another year of experience, another year of heartbreak. We barely missed out a top 4 2 years ago. Did we make sure we get second? Now we barely missed out on the title. What do we make sure we get? Arteta's definitely that guy. I think Arteta's a good enough manager to get us a Prem. I think that this team's a good enough team to win the Prem. I don't know if I'm willing to say Champions League yet, because again, a lot of the things with Champions League that happens is who do you end up with your group? And then who are the teams that get the surprise knockouts? PSG's weaker, Real Madrid's stronger. Barcelona has got to perform better than they did last year in the Champions League. I'm very happy Liverpool's not in there. If Bayern Munich go out and get Harry Kane, I'm going to be very scared of Bayern Munich.
That's and the good thing I think with Arsenal, is the likelihood of them getting a Bayern Munich is it's there, but it's not as high as it would be the other possible options at that number.
We never get them in the group. We always get knocked out in the round of 16 with them.
That's more likely where you're probably going to end up getting them if you get there. So definitely.
I don't know. I look at this team and it's hard not to feel like we can win. Honestly, it's not Prem or bust, but I think we need to seriously be considered Premier League contenders. And if you aren't considering us that, I really want to know your reasoning why. Because we were so close. And if Gundogan didn't go off, and if we didn't lose Saliba and Tomiyasu in the same stupid Europa League match, a lot of things end up differently. The second we went into the Etihad starting Rob Holding, we are not going to do that this year. I'm not saying we're going to win, but we have the depth to not have to do those types of things. And again, you never know what's going to happen, but guys stay healthier. We keep Zinchenko. And the other thing is, last year we knew what our best 11 was, and that best 11 never lost a match, but we also couldn't keep that best 11 healthy because it's a really long season. Mm-hmm. This year, we don't know what our best 11 is, because our best 11 is going to depend on who we're playing and what the matchups are. And that's a much better place to be, especially if you have a manager capable of handling that.
And I'll add to it. You look at the way that City have gone about winning their titles, and what's been the big thing with City is rotation. Having those options. Arsenal is in the process of developing those options. They're not complete by any stretch of the means there, but their options are better than they were last season. I think that's a given.
Yep.
So I think that Arteta knows what he wants to build. I think the money is finally flowing in the right direction for Arsenal, where they're obviously making a lot more. They're going to have a lot more now.
The stadium's paid off. The Kroenkes finally have full control over ownership. They got the bad contracts off.
So what do you think?
Spend the money now.
Where do they finish? Where do they finish?
I honestly, my heart says first. I think they win the Prem. I really do. I think that this team can win the Prem. With as close as we got last year, I think this team can absolutely win the Prem. I think we get one trophy. I'm not seeing us winning a double. I'm not seeing us winning the Champions League. I don't think we're there just yet. And it's not that we're not there. If you put this team in like 2005 or 2006, maybe not 2005 because Chelsea was amazing. But if you put this team in like the 2000 Premier League, yeah, we win a double. I think the difference is the Premier League has gotten so competitive because of the TV money. I don't think we can do both. But we win silverware, and I think it's all in for the Premier League. I really do.
Here's my thing. If it's not the Premier League, I think it's got to be FA Cup. But the thing is, in order for you guys, in my opinion, to go further in the Premier League, you have to get out of the FA Cup and the EFL Cup as quickly as possible. Why have extra games on your on the menu there if you don't need them? When you're trying to keep guys healthy. Have some time for longer periods between games. For teams like that, it helps. It does really help. And coming from somebody firsthand saw a team try that and get out of those games early to make Champions League runs, and they won it. And then teams that just 2 years ago were like, "Fuck it, let's try to make it." Try to win every game possible. And they tried that, and they failed at the end, losing by a point and losing by a goal in the Champions League final. So there's two different ways you can go about it. Personally, I think that first route is where Arsenal is right now, and that's where they got to focus. You either go for the Prem and the Champions League and make it those two your priority, and get out of those those domestic cups, which you've won. I mean, the money is not in those cups. Where's the money? Champions League, Premier League. That's what you want to win. So
you talk about winning. You don't need to try to lose, but like the FA Cup and the League Cup, Kivior and Rob Holding start. That's where it's at.
In the EFL Cup 3 years ago, Liverpool threw out a team full of 17, 18-year-old kids, and they lost 5-0. But I mean, it was still worth it because we ended up going to all the way to the into the Champions League final. So it was completely worth it. And to be honest with you, I think if Arsenal is smart in maintaining, because what I do fear is that what they're going to do is they're going to try to make a run in the domestic cups, and they're going to get to the semifinals, and they're going to have to play the semifinals with Champions League games on the docket, with Premier League games on the docket, and you can't do that. You can't do that and be successful. There's very, very few teams that have been able to do that and be successful. And
I don't. And that's a worry. That's definitely a worry, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think Arteta's too smart for that. And I think when you saw what we did in the League Cup and the FA Cup last year, that he's already proven that he's willing to throw out the rotated squads, even if he knows that they're not going to perform well, because I need to keep guys healthy. What killed us last year was we had one hole in our defense, and it got exposed in a brutal game in Europa. It was a European match, and it got exposed there. And you know what? Yeah, we probably shouldn't have had Saliba playing that match. But you also want to – there's that balance between I want to focus on what I want to focus on, and then that also we need to be winning all the time, and we need to have that mentality. Because if you have the ability to turn off, that can happen at the wrong times all the time. And we're trying to breed that mentality because now 2 years in a row, a lot of people can say it's the mentality. Now, I don't want to hear that we bottled it last year. We had bad injuries. And by the way, the team that won it won the treble. So, it's the third team in a row. Liverpool's managed to get one off them. If it wasn't for Liverpool winning the Prem in 1920, and we'd be talking about a team winning 6 or 7 in a row. It's so sure we bottled it, but no one thought we were even going to be in the top. I thought we'd be in the top 4. I didn't think we'd be second. No one thought we were going to be second. So it's kind of hard to say, oh, you bottled it. Like if Leicester didn't win in 15-16, would we be saying they bottled it? I don't know. But I'm excited. If we fail to get top 3, I'd call it a bottle. Even if we get top 4 in Champions League and we're back to Arsenal's 4th, I still think that's considered a bottle. Sorry, I got an east-facing window and I'm starting to get completely just blurred out. I'll try to figure it out. Maybe I got to get darker blinds in here. I don't know. I think it's trophy or bust, and I think the trophy needs to be the Prem.
Either way, I think this is going to be. I mean, the top 4 race is going to be amazing. This season is going to be one of the more intriguing seasons. There's going to be a lot more storylines, and I think we've had seasons past.
Hopefully.
But this is going to be one hell of a season.
It is. I'm equal parts. I'm going into this season with so much like nerves now because it used to be like, oh man, whatever happens. Like I hate losing, but it would be great. And then last year, it's like I couldn't believe what was happening. It was so much fun. And this year, it's like,
welcome to my world, man.
We need to win something.
Having to do it with City over the last 5-6 years. Oh
God, I hate City so much.
Anyways, I got a bachelor party to attend, so
you go do that. I have.
What do you got planned for the day, for the weekend?
Well, so we need to. Right? I got to make this room not look like this. That'll be a start. And then when I'm done with that, I also need to. I got dressers to paint. I got things to move. Apparently, we're running up to the camp later. I don't know. I got a ton of stuff.
There you go. That's a full weekend.
Sunday, tomorrow, a competitive match to watch. I will be at the beer garden, and it will hopefully be fun. Is it a competitive trophy? Is it just a friendly? It depends on whether we win.
I always thought we won it last year, and I was like, whatever. I walked out. I don't think I even high-fived anybody.
I always high-five beating City. I always high-five City. I remember Holland had that awful miss, and we're all like, "Oh, City wasted their money."
And then Darwin scored, and look what happened. Darwin scored the winner, but no, it's a fun little match. It's not a real trophy in my opinion.
We always perform well in the Community Shield too, which I think is hilarious.
Historically speaking,
we performed really well in the Community Shield. We have 16 of them.
Do you really?
And yeah, and it's just like we beat teams that we have no business beating all the time in the Community Shield, even when we have really, really poor seasons. Like that season we finished 8th. I think we beat City in the Community Shield. It made no sense, but whatever. I mean, and that's it. Because is it a friendly or is it not? Well, did we win? We win, it's a competitive trophy, and we took one off City. And if we lose, it's just a friendly, guys. Calm down.
Oh, dude.
We already won the Emirates Cup, so there's that silverware handled.
Liverpool won some trophy. What the heck was it? We won some trophy. I think it was in Singapore. Was it Singapore or was it Germany? I can't remember. Either way, we got some funky looking trophy. I'm sure we'll find a place for it, I guess, with the rest of them.
A lot of people forget that Arsenal did win the treble.
Can you donate trophies to Spurs? I mean,
maybe I wouldn't. They're just gonna waste them.
They'll just put it next to that Audi Cup they won like 5 years ago, right?
So there was exactly that. I have a Spurs friend, and I'd yell at him all the time. Audi Cup winners, we'll never sing that. But last year I was joking, Arsenal did win the treble because we won the Florida Cup or whatever it was for that preseason thing, and then we won the Emirates Cup, which obviously we win because we host it and we only invite teams that we can beat up on. Although we did smash Sevilla last year, and then they had that Dubai Cup during the World Cup, that like little tournament, like mini preseason, middle of the season thing, and I was like, guys, that's a treble. That's 3 trophies. What more do you want?
You could have had a quadruple if you finished it off.
Yeah, could have had the quad, but no one listened. So, all right, Let's go. I'm going to go be an adult. You go be a kid, and you go have a bunch of fun being a kid.
I'm gonna go play some golf first.
Oh,
Get that out of the way.
Jesus.
With my last name being Woods, it's kind of in my blood, so I got to do it.
That is true.
My cousin, El Tigre.
All right. So this is part 3 of 4. We know that there are 4 parts now. Who is up in the final? Do you know?
I know we got City. I know I believe we've got Manchester United. Those two definitely need to go over for sure. I believe we definitely saved Chelsea for you. I think that was a big one that we talked about.
Brentford, West Ham, Fulham, Chelsea, and City. That's what I got. That's what I got on Aaron's notes. That'll be fun. I mean, Brentford, West Ham, Fulham are going to be fun. City will be awful. We'll spend about 5 minutes talking about them, and then we'll spend. I don't know. Chelsea's interesting. Chelsea's interesting. I have a lot of teams I hate now. Newcastle's up there, obviously because of that.
If you're listening, at least just tune in for the Chelsea part.
Tune in for the Chelsea part. There will be a lot of hate and angst, especially because they went and got Poch. It's like, ugh. Of course, I don't know. Mourinho at Chelsea. I don't know if there could ever be a more awful. What's the opposite of a dynamic duo? And they were a dynamic duo. They won a lot. And I hated it. Constructive duo. All right. You have a good one. Thank you guys very much for listening. We are on. God, I am just turning into white. This is bad. The blinds are down. And this is what it looks like. I don't think they're up here. That'd be great. Anyway, we are on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We are on YouTube. I believe we're on TikTok. I don't know. Aaron's been driving the hell out of that. I'm just going to let him do that. We are going to be at the beer garden. Actually, the Albany Gooners have a fun little thing planned for the beer garden tomorrow. We got some wicked merch that's coming.
Oh,
it's gonna be dope. It's gonna be dope. So, all right, that's it for me. Go enjoy your golfing, and then go enjoy the bars.
Later, guys.
See ya.
Well, guys, that was an episode of Swinging at Shins. We appreciate you for coming out and listening to us. If you guys want to hear or see more, we have links in the description below. We hope to hear from you soon and hear more about what you have to say.